The auction house buzzed with activity, a chaotic symphony of alien chatter and clinking currency. Dave adjusted his grease-stained jacket, squinting at the holographic display. He wasn't here for anything fancy, just a rare toaster he'd heard about. Something about it being a galactic relic. To him, it was the perfect addition to his scrapyard's collection of useless treasures. The auctioneer, a slimy, tentacled creature with a voice like nails on a chalkboard, stepped onto the podium. "Next item," the auctioneer announced, waving a tentacle dramatically. "A rare specimen of the Xylaxian species, delicate, artistic, and utterly useless. Do I hear an opening bid?" Dave wasn't paying attention. His bidding paddle, a malfunctioning piece of junk he'd picked up for a bargain, kept flickering on and off. He smacked it against his palm, muttering, "Work, you piece of—" "Sold!" the auctioneer bellowed, pointing a tentacle directly at Dave. "To the human for mere pennies!" Dave froze. "Wait, what?" A hush fell over the crowd as a slender, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms stepped onto the stage. Her skin shimmered with faint color shifts, and her expression was a mix of horror and indignation. Dave's jaw dropped. I think there's been a mistake. I was trying to bid on the toaster." The auctioneer chuckled, a sound like gurgling water. "No refunds, no exchanges. Congratulations, human. You are now the proud owner of a Xylaxian." Dave groaned, rubbing his temples. "Great. Just great." As Xylith was escorted off the stage, her skin flushed a deep indigo. She glared at Dave, her voice dripping with disdain. "A human? Of all the species in the galaxy, I get sold to a human." Dave held up his hands defensively. "Hey, it was an accident. I thought I was buying a toaster, not a blue mood ring." Xylith's skin turned a furious shade of violet. "A mood ring? How dare you!" The crowd erupted into laughter, their alien voices echoing through the hall. Dave sighed, muttering, "One man's trash is another man's treasure, no offense." Xylith crossed her arms, her skin shifting to a skeptical green. "This should be interesting." Dave's scrapyard was a chaotic mess of half-finished projects, discarded alien tech, and piles of junk that defied description. Xylith stepped over a tangled heap of wires, her nose wrinkling at the smell of burnt metal and oil. "This is where you live?" Dave shrugged, kicking a broken hoverboard out of the way. "Home sweet home. Make yourself comfortable." Xylith eyed a suspiciously phallic-looking piece of machinery. "What is that?" Dave followed her gaze and chuckled. "Oh, that's a hyperdrive coil. Or at least, it used to be. Now it's just decorative." Xylith's skin turned a faint shade of pink. "Humans are so bizarre." Dave grinned. "You'd get used to it." "So, what do Xylaxians do, anyway?" Xylith straightened, her skin glowing with pride. "We are artists. Our creations inspire emotions, tell stories, and bring beauty to the universe." Dave nodded, picking up a broken holographic projector. "Cool, cool. So, like alien memes?" Xylith's skin flickered with confusion. "Memes?" Dave activated the projector, and a blurry image of a dancing alien popped up, accompanied by a catchy tune. Xylith stared at it, her skin turning a puzzled yellow. "Is this art?" Dave laughed. "Depends on who you ask." As the days passed, Xylith found herself reluctantly drawn into Dave's world. His relentless optimism and knack for turning junk into something useful were oddly endearing. One afternoon, as Dave tinkered with a malfunctioning gravity generator, Xylith watched in amusement. "You do realize that thing is about to explode, don't you?" she said, her skin shifting to a cautious orange. Dave waved her off. "Nah, I've got it under control. Probably." The generator sputtered, and Dave was suddenly floating upside down, his legs flailing. Xylith couldn't help but laugh, her skin glowing a soft pink. "You're hopeless." Dave grinned, hanging midair. "Maybe. But I'm great with my hands, just not always in the way I intend." Xylith rolled her eyes, but there was a hint of a smile on her face. "You're impossible." One evening, as the twin suns set over the scrapyard, Dave and Xylith sat on a pile of discarded starship parts, sharing a meal of questionable space rations. Xylith's skin shimmered with a calm blue as she gazed at the stars. "You know," she said softly, "I never thought I'd end up in a place like this." Dave glanced at her, his mouth full of food. "What, a scrapyard?" Xylith shook her head. "No. Somewhere I feel valued." Dave swallowed, his expression turning serious. "You're not trash, Xylith. You're a limited edition." Xylith's skin glowed a warm pink, and she smiled. "Thank you, Dave." Dave grinned, leaning back. "Anytime, mood ring." Xylith laughed, the sound echoing through the scrapyard. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged. The scrapyard was alive with the hum of mismatched machinery and the occasional spark of a welding torch. Xylith wandered through the chaos, her forearms delicately picking through piles of discarded alien tech. Her skin shimmered with curiosity, shifting to a soft lavender as she examined a broken holographic projector. Dave, meanwhile, was elbow-deep in a gutted starship engine, his face smeared with grease. "So," Xylith began, her voice tinged with skepticism, "you just take all this junk and turn it into something useful?" Dave wiped his hands on his pants, leaving streaks of oil. "Yep. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Or, in this case, one alien's trash." Xylith held up a twisted piece of metal that vaguely resembled a musical instrument. "And what exactly is this supposed to be?" Dave squinted at it. A space banjo? Or maybe a really confused coffee maker? Hard to tell sometimes." Xylith's skin flickered with amusement, turning a faint shade of yellow. "You humans are strange. You see potential in the most useless things." Dave grinned. "That's our superpower. That, and making terrible decisions." Xylith set the space banjo down and picked up a small, glowing orb. "What about this?" Dave's eyes lit up. "Oh, that's a plasma stabilizer. Or at least it was. Now it's just a fancy paperweight." Xylith's skin shifted to a curious blue. "And you keep it because—" Dave shrugged. "Because one day, I might need a fancy paperweight. You never know." Xylith shook her head, but there was a hint of a smile on her face. "You're impossible." As the days went on, Xylith found herself drawn into Dave's world of chaos and creativity. She watched as he transformed a pile of scrap into a functioning hovercart, his hands moving with a kind of reckless precision. She couldn't help but admire his resourcefulness, even if his methods were unconventional. One afternoon, Dave handed her a small, intricately carved box. "Here. I made this for you." Xylith's skin flushed a soft pink as she took it. "What is it?" Dave scratched the back of his head. "It's a music box, I guess. I found some old parts and thought you might like it." Xylith opened the box, and a faint, melodic tune filled the air. Her skin shimmered with delight, shifting to a warm gold. "It's beautiful." Dave grinned, clearly pleased with himself. "Glad you like it. Figured you could use something pretty in this mess." Xylith looked at him, her expression softening. "Thank you, Dave." Dave waved her off, his cheeks tinged with red. "Don't mention it. Just don't tell anyone I've got a soft side. I've got a reputation to maintain." Xylith laughed, the sound echoing through the scrapyard. "Your secret's safe with me." Despite the growing camaraderie, Xylith couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. Her skin often turned a contemplative shade of green as she wandered the yard, her thoughts drifting to her old life. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, she found herself sitting on a pile of discarded starship parts, staring at the stars. Dave approached, holding 2 mugs of steaming liquid. "Hey! You look like you could use some company." Xylith accepted the mug, her skin shifting to a calm blue. "Thank you." Dave sat beside her, sipping his drink. "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" Xylith hesitated, her skin flickering with uncertainty. I just I don't know if I belong here. Dave frowned. What do you mean? Silas sighed, her skin turning a somber shade of purple. I'm an artist, Dave. I'm supposed to create beauty, inspire emotions. But here, I'm just another piece of scrap. Dave set his mug down, his expression serious. Silas, you're not scrap. You're like one of those rare gems I find in the junk. Sure, maybe no one else sees your value, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Silas looked at him, her skin glowing a soft pink. You really believe that? Dave nodded. I do. And if you ever forget, just look at that music box. You inspired that. Not me. Silas smiled, her skin shimmering with gratitude. Thank you, Dave. Dave grinned, leaning back. Anytime, mood ring. Their quiet moment was interrupted by the sound of a ship landing nearby. Silas's skin turned a cautious orange as she stood, her eyes narrowing. Who's that? Dave squinted at the approaching figures. Oh. That's the snobby collector from the auction. What's he doing here? The collector, a tall, elegant alien with a disdainful expression, strode into the scrapyard, flanked by two burly guards. Human, he sneered. I've come to reclaim what's mine. Dave crossed his arms, his tone defiant. Silatha's not yours. I bought her fair and square. The collector's lips curled into a smirk. You bought her for pennies. She's worth far more than that. Hand her over, and I'll forget this unfortunate incident. Silas stepped forward, her skin glowing a defiant red. I'm not going anywhere. The collector's eyes narrowed. You don't have a choice, my dear. You belong to me. Dave stepped between them, his voice firm. She doesn't belong to anyone. She's her own person. The collector laughed, a cold, humorless sound. How quaint. But we'll see about that. As the guards advanced, Silatha's skin shifted to a determined shade of crimson. Dave, what's the plan? Dave grinned, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Improvise. The scrapyard became a battlefield as Dave and Silath worked together to outwit the collector and his guards. Dave's knowledge of the yard's layout and Silatha's quick thinking turned the tide in their favor. At one point, Dave activated a malfunctioning gravity generator, sending the guards floating helplessly into the air. Silath couldn't help but laugh, her skin glowing with triumph. You're full of surprises, Dave. Dave winked. Stick with me, mood ring. Things are about to get interesting. As the collector retreated, his pride wounded, Silath turned to Dave, her skin shimmering with gratitude. Thank you? For everything. Dave shrugged, his grin never fading. Anytime. But next time, let's try to avoid the whole evil collector thing, okay? Silath laughed, the sound echoing through the scrapyard. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged. And for Dave, that was worth more than all the scrap in the galaxy. The collector's ship loomed over the scrapyard like a predator waiting to strike. Dave and Silas stood side by side, their backs against a pile of discarded starship parts. The collector's voice crackled through a loudspeaker, dripping with condescension. This is your last chance, human. Hand over the Xylaxian, or face the consequences. Dave clenched his fists, his jaw set in determination. Not gonna happen. She's not yours to take. Silatha's skin glowed a fierce red, her voice steady. I'm not going back. The collector's laughter echoed through the yard. Brave words. But bravery won't save you. The guards advanced, their weapons gleaming in the dim light. Dave grabbed a broken plasma cutter from the ground, holding it like a makeshift sword. All right, Silath. Time to show them what we're made of. Silath nodded, her skin shifting to a determined shade of crimson. Let's do this. The fight was chaotic, a blur of sparks, shouts, and the occasional explosion. Dave swung the plasma cutter with reckless abandon, dodging blasts and using the scrapyard's terrain to his advantage. Silath, meanwhile, used her agility and 4 arms to outmaneuver the guards, her skin flashing with intensity as she fought. At one point, Dave found himself cornered by 2 guards. He grinned, holding up a small device. "Hey, fellas! Catch!" He tossed the device, which emitted a blinding flash of light. The guards stumbled, disoriented, giving Dave the chance to knock them out with a well-placed swing of the plasma cutter. Xylith appeared at his side, her skin glowing with approval. "Not bad for a human," Dave smirked. "I've got my moments." As the battle raged on, the Collector grew increasingly frustrated. He barked orders at his remaining guards, his voice tinged with desperation. "Enough of this! Capture them now!" Dave and Xylith exchanged a glance, their unspoken plan clear. They retreated deeper into the scrapyard, leading the guards into a maze of towering junk piles. Xylith's skin shifted to a calculating blue as she whispered, "Ready?" Dave nodded, his grin never fading. "Let's give them a show." They activated a series of hidden traps, using the scrapyard's defenses to their advantage. Gravity generators sent guards floating into the air, while malfunctioning holographic projectors created confusing illusions. The Collector's forces were quickly overwhelmed, their confidence shattered. With the guards incapacitated, Dave and Xylith turned their attention to the Collector. He stood alone, his expression a mix of anger and disbelief. "You think you've won? You're nothing but a human and a worthless Silaxian." Dave stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "You're wrong. She's not worthless. And neither am I." Xylith's skin glowed with pride, her voice steady. "You underestimated us. That was your mistake." The Collector sneered, but there was a flicker of fear in his eyes. "This isn't over." Dave crossed his arms, his tone defiant. "Yeah, it is. Now get out of here before we change our minds." The Collector hesitated, then turned and fled, his ship lifting off with a roar. Dave and Xylith watched as it disappeared into the sky, their victory complete. As the dust settled, Xylith turned to Dave, her skin shimmering with gratitude. "You didn't have to do that. You could have handed me over." Dave shrugged, his grin returning. "And miss out on all the fun? Not a chance." Xylith laughed, the sound echoing through the scrapyard. "You're impossible." Dave winked. "Stick with me, Mood Ring. Things are just getting interesting." The days that followed were filled with a newfound sense of purpose. Xylith began to see the scrapyard not as a prison, but as a canvas. Her artistic talents flourished as she transformed discarded materials into stunning works of art. Dave watched in awe as she created sculptures that seemed to come alive, their beauty a stark contrast to the yard's chaos. One evening, as the twin suns set, Xylith unveiled her latest creation, a towering sculpture made from broken starship parts. It shimmered in the fading light, its intricate design a testament to her skill. Dave whistled, his eyes wide. "That's incredible." Xylith's skin glowed with pride, her voice soft. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you." Dave shook his head. "This is all you, Xylith. You're amazing." Xylith smiled, her skin shimmering with warmth. "And you're not so bad yourself, Dave." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, their partnership a blend of creativity and resourcefulness. The scrapyard became a place of possibility, a testament to the power of seeing value where others saw none. And as they stood together under the stars, their laughter echoing through the night, they knew they had found something truly priceless. Dave glanced at Xylith, his grin never fading. "So, what's next?" Xylith's skin glowed with determination, her voice steady. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." Dave nodded, his heart full. "Couldn't have said it better myself, Mood Ring." The Collector's defeat had left the scrapyard in an unusual state of calm. Dave and Xylith worked side by side, their partnership stronger than ever. Xylith's artistic creations had begun to attract attention, and the once dismissed scrapyard was now a hub of activity. Aliens from across the galaxy came to see her work, their skepticism turning to awe as they marveled at her talent. One day, a sleek, silver ship landed in the yard. Out stepped a well-dressed alien with an air of authority. "I am here to see the artist," he announced, his voice carrying across the yard. Dave stepped forward, his usual grin in place. "That'd be Xylith." What can we do for you? The alien's eyes swept over the yard, lingering on Xylitha's latest sculpture. I represent the Galactic Art Council. We've heard of her work and would like to offer her a position at our prestigious academy. Xylitha's skin shifted to a surprised shade of pink. Me? At the Galactic Art Academy? The alien nodded. Your talent is unparalleled. We believe you belong among the stars, not in this place. Dave's grin faltered, but he quickly masked it with a shrug. Well, that's great news, isn't it? Xylith hesitated, her skin flickering with uncertainty. I don't know. The alien's expression softened. Take your time. But know this, the galaxy is waiting for you. As the alien left, Xylith turned to Dave, her skin glowing with conflict. What do you think I should do? Dave scratched the back of his head, his tone casual. Hey, it's your call. If you want to go, I'm not gonna stop you. Xylitha's skin turned a contemplative green. But what about you? What about the scrapyard? Dave shrugged, his grin returning. I'll manage. Always have, always will. Xylitha's eyes narrowed. You're not fooling anyone, Dave. I can see right through you. Dave sighed, his expression turning serious. All right, fine. I'll miss you. But this is your dream, Xylith. You've got to chase it. Xylitha's skin shimmered with gratitude, her voice soft. Thank you, Dave. For everything. The days that followed were filled with preparations. Xylith packed her few belongings, her skin glowing with a mix of excitement and sadness. Dave, meanwhile, threw himself into his work, his usual chatter replaced by an uncharacteristic silence. On the day of her departure, Xylith stood at the edge of the yard, her ship waiting nearby. Dave approached, holding a small, intricately carved box. Here. A going-away present. Xylith opened the box, revealing a tiny holographic replica of the scrapyard. Her skin glowed a warm gold as she smiled. It's beautiful. Dave grinned, his eyes twinkling. So you don't forget where you came from. Xylitha's skin shimmered with emotion, her voice steady. I could never forget, Dave. You've given me more than I ever thought possible. Dave shrugged, his tone light. Just doing my job, mood ring. As Xylith boarded her ship, Dave watched from the ground, his heart heavy but full. The ship lifted off, disappearing into the sky, and the scrapyard felt emptier than ever. But as the days turned into weeks, something unexpected happened. The scrapyard began to thrive. Aliens came from far and wide, drawn by the legend of the Xylaxian artist who had started her journey there. Dave found himself busier than ever, his knack for turning junk into treasure earning him a reputation of his own. One evening, as the twin suns set, a familiar ship landed in the yard. Dave's heart leapt as Xylith stepped out, her skin glowing with a soft pink. Xylith? Dave's voice was filled with surprise. What are you doing here? Xylith smiled, her voice steady. I realized something. The academy was amazing, but it wasn't home. This is where I belong. Dave's grin returned brighter than ever. Well, welcome back, Mood Ring. Xylith laughed, the sound echoing through the yard. It's good to be home. Together, they transformed the scrapyard into a place of wonder, a testament to the power of creativity and resilience. Xylitha's art inspired countless others, while Dave's resourcefulness continued to amaze. Their partnership became the stuff of legend, a story of love, laughter, and the beauty of seeing value where others saw none. As they stood together under the stars, their laughter echoing through the night, they knew they had found something truly priceless. And for Dave and Xylith, that was worth more than all the treasures in the galaxy.